So today we're going to look at whether the Tesla Model Y is a better car for us. Stay tuned and we'll walk you through our test drive. Before we hired our Polestar 2, I saw online that Tesla offer something called a self-serve test drive. You can book out the Tesla Model 3 or the Tesla Model Y. Essentially, you get an hour in your vehicle of choice. So when I booked my test drive, we didn't take along a camera, did we? Because I didn't know exactly what the setup was going to be like. So it was in an industrial estate. It was actually in like a vineyard or something, wasn't it? The vehicles are just parked there. They're plugged in. You basically start your test drive from the app, unplug the cable, and sort of the car's yours for the hour. Do whatever you want with the vehicle within reason and return it back to the spot within an hour. They don't really mind, obviously, don't break the law. So for us, it was a really good opportunity to either rule the car in or rule the car out, and actually speak quite honestly as we're sort of going through the test drive. I actually wouldn't have any issues in sort of saying what I did and didn't like in front of a salesman, but at least you don't have that sort of salesman pressure, which I think probably could be quite off-putting for some people.
Well, plus you feel the need to feel silence with small talk, and that takes the focus away from what you're actually doing in the driving of the car.
Yeah, that's true. Still, it was nice not having the salesman there, and actually I think Tesla are really onto something with the self-serve test drive. It's a much nicer way to sort of go around looking to purchase a new vehicle. For anyone that's interested in a Tesla, I think it's well worth doing the self-serve test drive just to see if the car suits your needs or not. So I really enjoyed the test drive, so much so that I recommended that perhaps Bill do it as well. Also, it gives us an opportunity to spend a bit more time with the car. I could also get some clips that I didn't get in the first hour. To be honest, when I was test driving the car, I just wanted to get to know. I didn't want to be wasting any time videoing anything, but it gave me an opportunity to do some video clips, didn't it, of you driving it, obviously give you the experience of driving the car, because actually that's something we didn't do when we hired the Polestar. You didn't drive it, did you?
No, I'm not really fussed about that, it's more for you, but like I say, it also gave you a chance to
experience it as a passenger, I suppose.
Yeah, when you played around with the screen far more.
Well, it gave me that opportunity while you were driving, which was quite good. So as we've both driven the vehicle, we can both sort of share our experiences. So in terms of looks, I actually think the Polestar 2 is a better looking vehicle than the Tesla Model Y. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I think there's less of them on the road, so I think maybe it stands out a little bit more.
Yeah, perhaps.
There's quite a few Teslas and they all look fairly similar.
They do. Well, I think the Model 3 and the Model Y look very similar, and I'd say you could say that Teslas are quite bland in their styling, but I feel that it's designed more with efficiency in mind. That said, obviously the vehicle looks really inoffensive, and actually I think simplicity in its design is something of its own, isn't it? Like, I think that's quite nice. Like, the interior is really minimalist.
You're quite a simple person.
Charming. The car that we had on Bill's test drive was wrapped in this weird material. I said to you, I don't know what that's all about, but then I thought, well, actually, these vehicles on test drive available 7 days a week. I suspect it's there to sort of protect the paintwork, and also perhaps draw attention to the fact it's on a self-serve test drive.
Yeah, well, it had a QR code on one side.
Oh yeah, you're right, it did. So yeah, so you could actually book the test drive if you were standing next to the vehicle if you really wanted to. So in terms of the interior and practicality, let's start at the back. So the boot, absolutely ginormous, isn't it? It's got a really big underboot storage area, as well as in the front, there's like a front boot. I don't really like saying front.
Fronnet.
What?
Bonnet, fronnet.
Wouldn't it be called the fruit? The front boot? Fronnet.
Bonnet, fronnet.
Oh, we've gone majorly off topic. Also, from the boot, you can release the back seats. They electronically fold down, don't they? There's like a catch.
Do they manually go back up?
You have to manually put it back up. They don't come up electronically. But I think they must be sprung in some way. That's really good. There's a little release catch. So if you've got something large in your hands, you can obviously offload it into the boot without going around and opening the doors and whatnot, which is good. In terms of interior space, there's a big cubby at the front beneath 2 wireless phone chargers. Then under the armrest in the centre, again, another big sort of storage area. So very spacious, loads of places to stow bits and pieces away. Obviously to try and keep the cabin looking as clean and tidy as possible, I guess.
I like having 2 chargers because as a passenger I don't get to charge my phone.
No, you don't, which is handy. So the cabin feels really spacious and airy, which is nice. The windscreen goes down quite low, which gives you a really good view out on the road. In the back of the car, there's a completely flat floor, so obviously you've got a lot more usable floor space compared to the Polestar that had the tunnel. But as I sort of mentioned in that video, we don't really carry many people. If we do, it's 1 or 2 people. I don't think we've ever had 5 in our car, have we? One thing I did really like was the seats. So they were like covered in like a faux leather, probably like a vegan leather. And the seats themselves I found really comfortable. Perhaps maybe not mega supportive, but comfortable. And also, this was my nitpick on the Polestar. I didn't like the design of the way the cup handles, the cup holders were laid out. But these really practical, 2 side by side. You can rest your arm on the armrest. It was all really comfortable and well thought out. Something I didn't like so much were the flush door handles. Fine during the day because you can see where they are, but there's no illumination to them or anything. And you kind of have to like dip your thumb in and like catch the handle as it pops out with the rest of your hand. Again, that's something you can learn to do quite quickly. However, if you've got your hands full of things, that perhaps could be a bit more difficult. So practicality on that front, perhaps not so good. So moving on to infotainment, the Tesla really reminds me of Apple iOS. It all looks really polished. It all just works really well. It's really slick to use. And the app, obviously we only briefly used the app, didn't we? But you can undo the boot, undo the fruit, if that's what we're calling it, undo the charge port. There's loads of different things you can do. Obviously you can, well, what would you call it? Like precondition the vehicle, set the heating to whatever temperature you want. So loads and loads of useful bits and pieces in terms of the app. Something that I really liked was the camera. So because you've got such a large screen inside the car, you get a nice big rear view projection when you reverse, and also 2 cameras that point down the sides of the car, all displayed simultaneously so you can see all views around the car, but there is no 360-degree camera. For some that might be an issue. For us, perhaps not so much, because I find the camera views on offer were much better. So you've got YouTube, Netflix, I think there's a couple of other services like Twitch, I don't use that, but in terms of being able to consume entertainment, you've got all that baked into the system. So times where perhaps you're charging or you're waiting to pick someone up and you want to watch something, great that you don't have to sit and watch it on your phone. You've got a big display that you can watch it on. Something that I was a bit nervous about, not nervous, but I didn't know how I would feel, was the lack of driver display in front of the driver. So I have a condition where my left eye can't look left, so I thought that might be difficult for me to see, but no, it really wasn't. And it's something that I adjusted to quite quickly. What did you think?
Well, the number's quite big in the top right of the screen, so it's quite easy to see.
Yeah, it's really obvious, and it's just a little glance. I'd say it's no different glancing down to your left than it is glancing down in front of you. I do feel like a bit of a missed opportunity on Tesla's part was sort of a lack of heads-up display. Something like that just to show maybe your battery percentage, your speed, and like next navigation instruction or distance to next turning or whatever. Something that I think would be an improvement for the car. So moving on to driving, so the vehicle that we had to test drive was a dual motor long range, which is actually the pick that I would want to go for. So you've got a really good elevated driving position. As I mentioned earlier, the windscreen's really low, so you've got a real good view over the road. Side mirrors, I actually thought for the size of the car were perhaps a bit on the small side, but thinking on that, maybe that's more of an like an efficiency aerodynamic thing. They're adequate enough in size, but I would personally prefer perhaps slightly larger mirrors. So in terms of suspension, I would say it's firm without being too firm. I quite like the suspension setup. Some people might be looking for more of like a wafty, pillowy sort of feeling. What did you think?
I won't be able to tell you.
Oh, okay, well there we have it. Well, obviously you must have thought it was comfortable enough. Moving on to charging, so I can't really comment because, again, we didn't have the vehicle for long enough. We couldn't do any charging of any description, but I believe it does charge faster than the Polestar 2 in the sense that it supports 250 kilowatt fast charging. Not really sure how the Polestar compares. I think from memory it's 175 kilowatts. So yeah, much faster. Just moving on to pros and cons then. Software is glorious, it's lovely to use, the app's fantastic. and I really liked the setup of the screen and everything. So that's a big tick in that box. Space and practicality is leagues ahead of the Polestar. Like I say, nice flat floor in the back. In the boot, we could put loads of stuff in there. You could easily like fit fold up bikes and loads of camping stuff. If you didn't, we've got a bike rack on our caravan, but if you didn't have a bike rack, the more sort of storage capacity you have, the better.
And one of my main reasons I wanted a Tesla was the additional chargers, because I get worried about the range, even if it is a long range one.
Yeah.
And before, the pressure was on me to go onto ZapMap and find the nearest charger, whereas
Yeah,
they're more reliable, I think, as a network, and there's far more of them as well.
Yeah, I would agree. When we had our MG, there was you couldn't navigate to a local charger or anything like that. Whereas this is all baked into the sat nav essentially. Kind of like the Polestar, that has exactly the same sort of setup. However, obviously you've got the addition of the Tesla charging network in addition to the public charging network. So obviously that's another big tick.
Plus it's cheaper.
Yes, it's significantly cheaper actually. I think what are you paying now? Like 60 or 70p a kilowatt hour for if you went to like Ionity or Instavolt or something. Whereas Tesla, I think we're around sort of like the 35, 40p per kilowatt hour mark. So it's nearly half, which is quite good. We probably wouldn't publicly charge that much. The only time we would probably do it is if we were like on a weekend break somewhere and using the car lots or towing the caravan. So obviously moving on to the negatives about the car. Obviously it's considerably more expensive than the Polestar 2. Comparing like for like, I think I mentioned a couple of videos ago that I think there was like a 10 to 12k difference between Polestar 2, Tesla Model Y, looking at the cheapest that you can buy. But you do have to bear in mind that you can get a 2020 Polestar 2, whereas the oldest Tesla Model Y is 2022. So if you're looking actually like for like both 2022 model years, I think there's actually around a £6,000 difference currently. So obviously a much smaller gap. But if budget is the key thing and you're sort of looking to get an EV, obviously you can get more for your money if you're prepared to go for a Polestar. Also, as the sort of like next couple of years roll by, I think there's going to be quite a few Tesla Model Ys flooding the market as leases, or like people that have leased their vehicle are going to return them for an upgrade. So I can expect to see just more Model Ys flood the market, which obviously bring down the price as well. So where does this leave us? For me, I would say the Tesla's my preferred vehicle of the two. But at the same time, I don't think you can ignore the strengths of the Polestar, particularly in terms of its value for money. Integrated Google Maps in the Polestar 2 is really, really good. And obviously you do have the projection of it in the driver's display, which is quite good. So you can have maps in one place and use the central screen for something else. And I know whilst this is subjective, I would say the Polestar is the better looking vehicle of the two. And what about you? What do you think?
Well, I like the longer range first and foremost. I'm just about practicalities. I don't care about most things you do, but
Yeah.
I like a longer range. I like the better charging network, and that's the main thing I look for, especially with towing, and it halves the range anyway.
Yeah, well, we don't know because we haven't got that, but from what I've read, you can expect sort of 50% of your range if you plan for that. You shouldn't go too far wrong. So obviously for us, there's lots to think about because at the end of the day, there is a budget that exists. We can't ignore that. And I do feel that having spent a decent amount of time with both vehicles has been beneficial because it's helped us sort of draw some conclusions from this. So yeah, you can read all the reviews and watch all the reviews as much as you like, but I don't think you can really beat hands-on experience. So not just these two cars, but if you're looking for a new car, I think the more time you can spend with it, the better. Just to make sure it fits your needs. At the end of the day, other than your house, it's probably one of the most expensive assets that you have. So
I'm just glad you're aware there's a budget.
Yeah, normally it's budget, smudge it, but yeah, obviously budget is important. So there we are. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. We've steadily been climbing. We're now nearly at 60 subscribers. So whilst that's not really, really high numbers in percentage terms, we've done quite well. So thank you very much for watching. Like I say, please do give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you don't, and we will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.